Newy Scruggs, NBC Television, a man of many things when it comes to the media, tied in incredibly well, not just in the DFW area, but elsewhere. Joins us, Paul, Catalina, Craig, Smoak, David Smoak on 365 Sports. New Dog, how you doing, young man?
Hey, guys.
Hey, good to talk to you.
I'm great. How you guys doing? Happy New Year.
You too. So what does it mean? We just had T.R. Sullivan, of course, retired now, but start with the Adrián Beltré. And maybe your thoughts about when you covered the Rangers and what a pro's pro that he was.
Well, I go back to 98 when he came with the Dodgers when I worked out there. And, you saw this young guy and he's just, people were just marveling at him, at such a young age, 19 years old, and just how great he was. Just, he had such potential. And then to realize that it did take him until he really came to Texas to get it all together. Because you saw flashes, but then you saw it all come together here. And so many people forget that Adrián was not on the 2010 team that went to the World Series and lost to the Giants. That team, so much of it was powered by Cliff Lee. And so they lost Cliff in the offseason, so they brought in Beltré. And I know I was one of those who thought, they'll be in, they won't make it back to the World Series. And sure enough, they made it back. Adrián was a huge part of it. And you could argue that that was probably a better team that didn't win the World Series. But Adrián was just such a special guy. And one of the things that's never really talked about enough of was his effect in the clubhouse. Because Adrián played hurt. Other guys played hurt. Adrián being able to, have the connection with the Latin players and English players made it such a cohesive clubhouse. And to have a Latin leader who worked both, sides of the clubhouse effectively really made the Rangers such a harmonious place. And that kind of stuff is just so underestimated in my opinion because, you have so many Latin players and they're not only comfortable with the Rangers, but they, they're comfortable, they're leaders. This is a very welcoming place here. And Adrián was a big part of making that happen.
Yeah, Newy, his most famous story of playing injured is he took one to the bad spot and had swelling and played through it after that. Like, how can another guy on the team be like, look, I'm not going to go out and play through this sore hand after he did that? I mean, everybody kind of just got in line behind him.
You are correct. Michael Young played hurt. Adrián played hurt. And it's no coincidence those teams won so many games. And those guys are so loved. And I was there in Arizona when they won the World Series, and Michael was on the field, Adrián was on the field, and Ian Kinsler, and those guys they're beloved. And Adrián will soon take his place in the, he already is in the Texas Rangers Hall of Fame and in Cooperstown with all the great legends. So I do, guys. I'll tell you, watching the Rangers win was really cool last fall. But I did have that sense of, man, those three guys having to watch it, knowing they were one strike away 2 times, not getting it. I did have a little sadness for them.
So when you arrived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area from L.A., did you ever think, one, you would not cover the Cowboys in a Super Bowl setting or even a conference championship setting, or that SMU would be a part of a Power 5 conference?
So, Smokey, here's what's wild. My second TV job was in Austin. So in 93 and 94, I worked down there. That's when the Cowboys had training camp at St. Ed. So I covered Jimmy's last team and Barry's first team. So I tell people, I have seen a Super Bowl team, I mean, I'm so old. I was there when they inducted Tom Landry into the Ring of Honor. I've seen stuff. And so to come back here when Dave Campo was the head coach and to see it this long, no, you couldn't have told me that. I thought Parcells would have gotten them at least to a conference championship game. I really thought, with Bill coming here and changing things around, everything was just at such a dramatic pace that would have gotten better, but it hasn't. And so to sit there, so my first year here in 2000, the Stars were already Stanley Cup champs, so they went back to the Stanley Cup. And so I've seen everyone else in town make it to the championship round except the Cowboys. And that is so wild. And you talk about, not even getting to the Final Four. It's wild, but now that I've been here so long, it's not wild because of how the team is run. I asked Troitman last night at that Dallas, the Sports Business Journal celebration of Dallas being the number one sports business city in the U.S. I asked Troy, I said, is there a sense of entitlement with these guys here? And Troy kind of laughed because he was such a trained media guy, like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play this one down the middle. So he didn't say yeah, but he walked all around saying yeah. And basically like, Jerry makes it, pretty comfortable for these guys, but it's true. They are. And you think about it. So also too, back when I was in Austin, it was the Southwest Conference, guys,
Yeah, they were.
It was still Southwest Conference. Yeah. I mean, that's what I covered, Southwest Conference. So, man, you could have told me all this stuff would happen that, SMU would one day be in the ACC of all things, or that even, TCU would find themselves in the Big 12 because at that point in time, they were all getting casted out. So the world has changed, man. It's wild. It's wild.
Newy, the Cowboys, though, and I watched, the video of Aikman last night, and, it's hard to put your finger on, though, because, by most organization standards, they've done everything better, save from about 5 or 6 in the league that are consistently just make, that one better draft decision than the Cowboys, or one better free agent signing, or just have kind of the better vibe. But 3 12-year win seasons in a row, 1 playoff win to show for that in all of it. I mean, like there's not a whole lot other than like entitlement and like trying to find some sort of edge that you can put your finger on, right? To change the fortunes of this team.
Nothing happens when they get beat from the standpoint of there's no repercussions. They're not running anybody out. Everybody's comfortable. Okay. People here are comfortable. And I did a commentary talking about as much as I personally love Jerry, and I do, he's been the constant here for 28 years. You've gone through coaches, you've gone through players. So where do we go to? It's you. And Troy talked a little bit about that, about how, it's comfortable around here. I remembered when, I won't say his name, but his assistant coach came from another team that had won a Super Bowl. So this man's been a part of a Super Bowl team. And he said, man, this is different. It's not about football. I remember last year, so they had an OTA one day, right? When we're doing our podcast at the start. And so they're having the Country Music Awards, or whatever they call it, ACM. It was one of them country shows. So they took over the Star in the Ford Field because the country show was going to be right there. So they were indoors. So indoor facility unavailable. So that's where the show was. And then they had the 2 practice fields on the outside. Well, the one on the left was full with a bunch of trailers. So all the stars had places to go. So that thing all throughout that whole field was packed. So it was just one field that was open. And that's where they were holding OTA. And it rained. And so they canceled it. All right, get out the rain. There's nowhere to go. Just go lift weights, guys. Just like, where else does this happen? Yeah, man, we got an indoor, but we can't use it because Reba McEntire's about to perform. We can't, just some ways to go home, guys. We'll just, hopefully it doesn't rain tomorrow. And literally, I said to myself, where else does a team like the Cowboys, anybody else, operate like the Cowboys and wins championships? They don't. And it starts at the top. As much as I love the people at the top, I love the family, they're great. But they are the constant. So Jalen Smith, I remember when Jalen Smith linebacker. So there was the first time ever they got knocked off Sunday Night Football, got flexed out. I've been at NBC since they've had Sunday Night Football, and they get a minimum of 3 games every year. You can only be on 3 games. The Cowboys are always on 3 games. So they were bad, and they got flexed out. And so we asked Jalen about it. He's like, hey, man, the owner ain't tripping. We ain't tripping. And it was kind of like, you guys in the media are tripping. And we're just thinking to ourselves, man, you're in the 12 o'clock spot now. You no shame about that? Like, you just hear with everybody else instead of being, the America's game of the week or, Sunday Night Football, the game. You satisfied playing it, kick it off at 12 o'clock. Like, okay, now you just up here with the Carolina Panthers of the world, and he was okay with it. And I'm like, that's the kind of mentality that people are too comfortable. People are entitled, and too many guys walk around here like they've won something. And then when they get knocked out of the playoffs, Micah Parsons doesn't talk to the media, runs on out the door. Tank Lawrence runs on out the door. Guy's got nothing to say. And you never saw that from Dirk Nowitzki. You'd see that from Michael Young. If you want to be a star and you want to be there when it's good, you got to be here for the whole damn meal, not just when it's convenient. But when you don't want to answer the tough questions about why you guys why you keep coming up short, when you spent the whole week telling us about how, hey, you're going to get it done, and you didn't get it done. And I think that's a part of it. I talk about the entitlement and what I've seen around here. It goes unchecked, which I don't think is right. You owe these fans to be able to stand up there and say, this is what happened, why it went wrong. I mean, guys, how many times, Smoak, you and I were there at Fort Worth at that great Carolina Baylor game.
Yep.
The dudes, you know what? Those kids went up there and answered the questions. They answered the questions, and it's like that was part of being a Baylor Bear. You go there with Coach Drew, you answer the questions, and this is a part of it. But not these dudes, man. They go slinking on out the back. And I'm like, man, that's just hogwash. And then covering the Rangers during this time too. Win, lose, or draw. There's Marcus Simeon. There's Corey Seager. They're losing pitchers right there to answer the damn questions. But these Cowboys, man, these dudes just run out the back door. Some of them do. I'm just like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's a great example. We saw you in Fort Worth for that game, and I remember you and I finally saw each other for the first time in a while, and I'm glad we did. And you're right. Aikman mentioned that there are tours going on, like you had mentioned, like the Country Western Awards or Music Awards or whatever, and hey, just go walk on the upper level and practice is going on and all of that. Craig, you got one more about college football with Newy?
Yeah, Newy, with SMU, the schedule's now been released by the ACC. They're going to open ACC play, welcoming in Florida State. So a huge game. Paul, the FSU alum's already got his car ride planned up there. And there's some various other games of interest, but we know the commitment that SMU has made. They saw that the boat, the big yacht of college football was drifting off, and they had one more opportunity to go join the big ranks, so to speak, and they did that. They found a way to do that. My question is it going to register the way that they hope in Dallas and Fort Worth? Is this going to bring bigger crowds? We know they've got the money, but with all the other stuff that they would like to come with that, is that going to happen with them joining the ACC?
I hope so. I really do. I mean, it's interesting. They got Florida State, especially after Florida State,
Yep.
basically blasted them. A legal filing to try and get out the conference. But, yeah, it is. I mean, look, you're going to go from here comes Tulsa to here comes FSU. So, yeah, it matters. And, look, I cover TCU, and I tell people all the time, there's a big damn difference when there's Dion here and it's just a regular old opponent. It matters. And when you're trying to get fans, because look, let's be honest, in this Metroplex area, it's Longhorns fans, it's Aggie fans here. So SMU and TCU, they're fighting for this. In North Texas, they're trying to fight for other sets of folks here. So it matters who comes in here. So you get a Florida State to come in here, you get a Texas A&M to come in here, man, it matters. You get an Oklahoma and you get them at your place. You got an opportunity to go ahead and not only fill the stands, but I like to say that's a ticket where you put like another team on there that normally people won't show up. For instance, if you're asking me like, hey, you want the Florida State game, you got to buy the Boston College.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
you attach somebody else with it. Like, oh, by the way, you got to come see them too. So that's how you sell the tickets there. But I'm happy for SMU and me being growing up and spending so much time in the ACC. I'm excited for basketball and what could come here. But we're just lucky in this state to see so many great teams. But just from a basketball standpoint, between the Big 12 and the ACC in the state of Texas, how lucky we are, and hopefully, and you guys know this well, we can get some more of these kids to stay in the state of Texas. That's one of the things for basketball that really bugs me, is not being able to keep kids here. Scott's done a great job of keeping kids here, but just too many of them leave, man. And just hopefully now it gives them more of a reason to stay. Well,
look, Newy, I'll just tell you, John Machota and I have already talked. We're going to be there. So,
yeah. He's a big
already done it.
So yeah, now 3 Power 5 schools or 3 Power 5 conference are a part of this state with the SEC, the ACC, and also the Big 12. And it's great for what you do. It's great for what we do with covering college football and some of the other things as well. Newy, great to hear from you. Have a great day. Anything in particular you want to tease?
No, guys. No, just, hey, look, just happy to be here, man. We see what's been happening across our, the sporting landscape, the folks at Sports Illustrated, LA Times, man.
Yep.
We're lucky that we get to come and, keep cranking that stuff out here. So, thanks to all your listeners. and you know, for what they're doing to just keep you guys on the air, man, because it's important. It is important, man, that we can keep these jobs and feed our families and keep on entertaining. So God bless, guys. Talk to you later.
Newy Scruggs, NBC5 and NBC Television with us on 365 Sports.